Today I'm going to show you how to set up and take down the Hexa Evo Pro by Snow Peak. All right, so the first step we're going to do is just take everything out of the bag. So you're going to have a pole bag. Doesn't come with the poles, you're going to have to get your poles separately. This one is the 280 centimeter poles. They're both the same size, unlike the regular Hexa tarp. Take that out. We have our ropes. This is going to be for those two front poles. And then we have the tarp itself, and this one actually comes with a separate liner as well. It's optional, you can use it or not use it and attach it at any point, either in the beginning or end. I'm gonna set it up first without it, and I'll show you how to put it on if you want after. But the liner isn't the Takedown liner. This is just like an extra, it will keep it a little bit cooler under the tarp liner. So don't do a fire under it. All right, so as with any tarp, you're gonna wanna select a nice, large, open area to set these things up, and you'll just start by unrolling the whole thing. This is the ridge line of the tarp right here. So you can think of this ridge line as the center point of the tarp. So wherever you want the direct center to be, that's where you should kind of place that ridge line. Just to get everything nice and laid out flat. So now that we have this all laid out, we're gonna go ahead and start by assembling the poles. So like I mentioned in the beginning, this tarp uses two of the same size poles. These are 280 centimeters. Comes with the bag, but it doesn't come with the poles. So I have extra poles here also. These are gonna be for the sides. I'm gonna show you different ways you can configure this one. But I'm gonna leave those off to the side for now because we don't need them. All right, so now it's time to grab your stake bag because we're gonna start staking in our points. So the first step you actually wanna do is you wanna grab a pole and you're gonna use the tarp ridge line as a guide. So put it straight with the pole right here. And then we're gonna go out straight back, 90 degrees each side, and this is where you're gonna place your stakes. For this tent, you're gonna wanna use at least number 30 solid stakes. If you have number 40 solid stakes, I recommend it also for the four corners. So we're gonna go ahead and put some of these in for placement right now. And we're gonna lift it up and then go directly the opposite side. Now, something to keep in mind also is if you don't have like this much space, you don't have to go this wide out. This is just the recommended way to do it. If you're shorter on space or if you're in a smaller campsite, just make this whole proportion just a little bit smaller. Just make sure the angle is about the same. Just scaled down. Hammer it in just a little bit, not all the way. All right, so now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So we're gonna put the pole down, walk it over, 90 on both sides. The next thing I recommend you do is grab some of these little aluminum pegs if you have them. Put them right here where you have the ridge line of the tarp. All right, so now we're gonna just go ahead and get our ropes all set up and ready. All right, so this rope is actually in two sections, and that's where we're gonna go ahead and start attaching it into the stakes that we placed out. So it's gonna have a tensioner on the end. You're gonna wanna go ahead and add some of that tension in as a placement for now. We'll mess with it more later. And we'll do the same thing on the other stake. I wouldn't do too much because then it might be hard to get your tarp up. So these tarps, you can set them up single, you can set them up with two people. It's easier with two people, but it's really not that difficult with one person. I'll show you right now how to do it if you're doing it alone. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our pole, grab our rope, and then we're gonna grab our tarp. All right, so you're gonna start by going and inserting the tarp pole into the tarp right here. Then we're gonna put the rope on top. And if it's really windy, you can go ahead and twist it and do one more. All right, so now we're ready to lift it up and it should stand. And it's okay if it's leaning kind of this direction for now. We're gonna fix the poles in just a minute. And now we're gonna come to the other side and we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna attach the ropes to the stakes. Make sure that the tension isn't too tight on it though, because if you have it too tight, it might not reach. So I like to start with this one a little bit looser also. It's always easier to add a little bit of tension than to just take it out when you're single-handedly doing one of these tarps. All right, so now that we have the ropes attached on the stakes, we're gonna go ahead and just find the point on the tarp, which is right there. We're gonna make sure we get the top part of the rope with the loop. Find the webbing, insert the pole, and then we're gonna go ahead and insert the rope Now I mentioned in the beginning that there was a reason that we're gonna put those silver stakes on the floor. And the reason is it's gonna keep the whole ridgeline of the tarp centered exactly where you wanted it in the first place. If you don't have that, more often than not, you'll end up having a diagonally kind of positioned tarp because you wouldn't really know where you started at, where your baseline was. So this helps create that baseline for you. So we'll swing in here. So right now you can see it's a little bit loose. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab this rope, come back here. I'm gonna add some tension. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. So with a little bit of tension, things are already looking a lot better. I'm gonna go ahead and strain out this pole. Bring it in, should match kind of with that one. Slight angle for each is fine. All right, so these are a little bit loose on this side, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of tension and repeat on this side. All right, so now that we have everything kind of tensioned out, everything straight and looking good, the last step we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and attach these ropes right here on the corners to the same stake that we used for the front pole. The cool thing about the Evo Pro, it actually uses less stakes than the regular Hexa tarp. This one only uses 6 stakes. All right, so now that we have the rope from the front, we're gonna just go ahead and bring it over. You may need to add some tension to it, just enough till it kind of pulls on it. We can always adjust tension again later. So again, just right over that same stake, and then we're gonna go ahead and repeat on this side. I'm gonna add a little bit of tension, kind of matching the other side. I'm looking at where I had that one. And I'm gonna put it over the same stake. All right, so now that I have the front done, I'm gonna go ahead and repeat the same thing on the back. All right, so I recommend after getting these 4 corners in to go ahead and just stake it in all the way. That way it doesn't come out of the ground. Okay, so now that we have that in, there's really only one more step. All right, so now I'm gonna tension this all the way back. Then I'm gonna go ahead and place my stake here. You might have to go a little bit out here, so just be a little bit careful where you go. Especially if you have snakes where you're camping, which I don't. At least I don't think so. All right, so I got that side out, and then we're gonna repeat the same thing on this side. All right, so now that we got everything kind of placed where we want, the last step is just to go through and fine tune all these little adjusters, because you can see some of them are still pretty loose. So we'll pull that tight, make sure these are all tight. Yeah, don't be afraid to put tension on these tarps. They're built for it. They're reinforced in all the points where you're putting that tension on. And especially if it's windy, like tension these things down. You don't want them blowing away. So right now we have the tarp in its base configuration right here with the sides just staked out. So if you invest in some extra poles, you can actually configure this tarp in a couple different ways. You can actually extend both sides out, which I'm gonna show you right now. And you can mess with different heights, whatever height you want. Just grab some different tarp poles and play around. So right now I'm just gonna use kind of like an awning pole height. I think this is like 170 centimeter, just to give you an idea. So to insert the pole, just go ahead and loosen the tension. We're gonna go ahead and just put the pole right in, stand everything up, and then we're gonna tension it right back up. As you can see, we now have a much more expansive tarp, a wider opening on the front, a great spot to nest like a tent underneath here for an entrance if it's raining. And you just wanna make sure you're getting in the tent nice and dry. So it creates a nice higher roof line right here. And you can do the same thing on the other side if you want to. All right, so now we have it pretty much symmetrical all the way around. And we increase our total living space by adding those extra tarp poles on it. I like to do this a lot with this tarp. I also like it even in its base configuration. All right, so I mentioned in the beginning that it comes with this extra liner to help block even more like heat and stuff like that and sunlight coming through. The way this one attaches, you can actually get a Takedown liner for this one too separately. It doesn't come with it. This isn't that fireproof liner like I mentioned. Just lay it out flat, just like the tarp. And then the way we're gonna do it is we have to just go ahead and loosen up these guy lines right here. And we're just gonna do one side at a time for inserting the liner. So bring that down. So on the tarp, you can see there's actually like a hook. So bring it down to whatever height you need. Then you'll just hook it onto these hooks. And then go ahead and bring your pole right back where it was. And then we're gonna go ahead and just repeat the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and tension this side back up just a little bit. And the last step is just to attach the sides, which also has the same hook system. And there you have it. If it's sunny out, I mean, this actually adds quite a bit more shade. So it's nice to have. It's a great feature, but it's not necessary. You don't always need it, but like, it's a great option to have. So, all right, so now it's time to go ahead and take down the Hexa Evo Pro. So the first step we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the sides. All right, so now with the side pulls down, we're gonna go ahead and start by taking down the front. So we'll go ahead and relieve a little bit of tension on these. You can leave the inner liner in or take it out the same way we put it in, it's up to you. Remove the rope, remove the pole. We'll do the same thing on this side. So some of the ropes are attached to the tarps. The two ones that go on the pole, those aren't attached to the tarp. So we'll fold those last, but these ones I like to keep it nice and rolled up on the tarp so they don't get tangled. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and get everything folded up. So we're gonna start the same way we set this thing up by finding that ridge line. So the webbing right here. If you leave the inner tent attached or the inner liner attached, just make sure that's also still attached. Then go ahead and grab it from the ridge, bring it back and forth. Yeah, just look for the webbing. We'll line up our two triangles. All right, so now with everything laid out completely flat, we're gonna go ahead and start bringing in the tarp starting from the bottom. And we're just gonna do it in sections. Now with everything ready to go, we're just gonna go ahead and start folding. All right, so now it's time to get everything back in the bag. So we're gonna start with the tarp first. After the tarp's in, then we're gonna grab our pull bag. And then don't forget your front ropes. All right, so that's it. This is how we set up and take down the Snow Peak Hexa Evo Pro Tarp. Hope you found this video helpful. If you did, consider giving it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. I've also included links to this tarp in the description, and it is an affiliate link, so clicking it and using it to make your purchases really does go a long way towards helping my channel grow. So thank you for your support with that. As always, thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Take care.